Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Andrew Moran, Sarah Cowgill, Kelly Ballard, and James Fight. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. The infamous Title 42 enacted during the pandemic is set to expire in days. Again, whether or not that actually happens after several attempts is anyone's guess. But it is raising questions and eyebrows from local, state, and federal officials about what's next in the perpetual crisis on the southern border. The Biden administration has all but overlooked the dangers down on the border, and Republicans are crying foul. Andrew, you recently penned a great eye-opening article on what rescinding Title 42 will mean in financial losses to the U.S. Can you expound?
Well, I'll say it's good. I wouldn't say it's great. But before I begin, I'd like to say it's an honor that I'm with three lovely ladies by the name of Kelly, Sarah, and Lisa. So I'd just like to get that out there. But yeah, so I mean, if Title 42 didn't deter anyone from crossing the border, eliminating it won't. I mean, when it comes to economics of immigration, it's fascinating. One of the most recent studies was done by the Federation for American Immigration Reform, or FAIR. It published a comprehensive report looking at the numbers of when it comes to legal immigration. So its main number was the cost of illegal immigration to Americans every year now is about $151 billion. Wow. Just 5 years ago, it was $35 billion. So what happened during this time frame in the last few years? Well, states across the country started offering all these goodies and benefits to illegal immigrants. You referenced my article. So that article talked about Illinois' program that offered in May 2020, offered a Medicaid-style coverage to seniors over 65, illegal seniors over 65. That program cost $2 million, was forecast to cost $2 million at the time. Today, it's $1 billion. So if Illinois has this program and all these other states have this program, like Colorado has housing rebates, New York offered everyone up to 15 grand during the pandemic, illegals 15 grand, then it's going to cost even more and more. And now you have even more people cross the border. Things going to spiral out of control, and you're just going to incentivize even more people crossing the border. So this isn't going away at all.
Well, it's interesting, Sarah, because you are you have family down on the border. You lived in Arizona for a long time. You're really in touch with the people on the ground. What's going on?
Well, yeah, I've got friends all along the border, and lots of family have come up from that end of the country, mostly southeastern New Mexico, Arizona, and a lot of places in Texas. Just as a shorthand note, I have been to Rosa's Cantina in El Paso. It was the worst 3 months of my life. But that aside, I reached out to my friends. They own a ranch down in southeastern New Mexico. And I said, what's going to happen now? And he told me flat out, he goes, we are stocked up on ammo. We have had nothing but problems for the last 5 years, and it's gotten worse. I mean, they don't want to shoot anybody, but they also have all of their garages broken into, and tools have been stolen, and cars have been stolen. And it's bad down there, and nobody seems to want to help them. So my guess is you're going to have a lot of armed citizenry just saying either fix this, because that's your job, federal government, or get out of our way.
Jim, from the legislative angle, nobody's done anything about this. The Republicans haven't done anything. The Democrats haven't done anything. And here we are.
Yeah, there's both sides say that we need to fix the broken immigration system, but nobody's got a solution that everybody can agree on. Sarah made a good point talking about armed citizens, and it's unfortunate that it's probably going to come to this. But if the government doesn't do anything, the people will, and that's where you're going to see what I refer to as the bullet wall. We talk about building a wall. I've often made the comment, we really only need two walls. We need the welfare wall and the bullet wall. If you remove the benefits for coming here and being a leech on the system, or if you remove the protections against people who come over here and victimize Americans, then what you're left with should be, ideally, the people who want to come here and actually build a life for themselves.
Kelly, it's not so bad where you are, but I think we can see a wave coming. I mean, they're talking about putting National Guard, and, there's already troops down there. I mean, you can see where things could escalate rapidly.
Right. Here in Washington, it's not too bad, but I did live in the Central California for 40 years, so I'm very familiar with it. But Title 42 ending, Biden sent over 1,500 troops. Well, they're supposed to be over around May 10th, and it ends, Title 42 ends on the 11th. But that's nothing new. I mean, when Trump was president, there was like more than 5,000 troops over there. And most people think this extra 1,500 is really not going to do a lot of good. They can only pretty much do administration type jobs. So I don't see, they're trying to gear up because they're expecting 10,000 a day to start crossing once Title 42 ends. 10,000 a day. That's a lot.
Somebody answer me.
Insane.
What are we going to do with all these people?
Well, I think one thing, I mean, we were talking about Kelly in Washington State. The one thing to do, Jim mentioned it too, build the welfare wall. In Washington State, they're offering insurance coverage now to illegal immigrants. If you're a poor person living in a shack in Latin America, and you see that, if I just try to cross the border and go with these coyotes and, get smuggled across the border, I can access all this free money and the road is paved with gold. Of course, I'm going to make that truck. You can't fault the people for doing that. And then many conservatives will say too that the border wall will prevent this from happening. There's so much debate about that. My concern is that if you build that border wall, it's good to keep people out. But what about from keeping people in? Let's say you have a guy like Gavin Newsom who wants to tax you if you leave the state. What prevents someone from building that wall to prevent you from leaving in the first place? So the border wall discussion is a concern of mine. But yes, Jim is right. Build that welfare wall, then you would probably at least mitigate most of the illegal immigration problems.
Sarah,
Jim,
don't we have an issue? Let me just ask Sarah quickly. Don't we have an issue with safety for these immigrants? I mean, some of them are coming over in hot trailers and
That's
trucks.
ridiculous. I mean, I lived in the Southwest a long time, and they come over in semi trailers they're up in the front of that back semi trailer, and then there's all sorts of product that people get away by crossing the border. They open the truck, they see what they got, they move them on, and people forget about them. And if they think they're going to get caught, they abandon them. Lots of people in Arizona specifically have been found, hundreds of people in a house being ransomed to family members. And I don't understand why we haven't, done a better job of this. This is a duty. This is a national security duty of our federal government.
Okay, so Kelly, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Jim, is it Texas that they're starting a type of that? Well, they're deputizing citizens to help with the immigration.
Yeah, it is Texas. I thought you were going to bring up the Abbott Express, where they're shipping people off across to liberal states and cities. That's what had me grinning whenever Lisa said, "Oh, what's going to happen? What's going to be done about this?"
But isn't that a nightmare waiting to happen if you deputize citizens or you depend citizens to rein in this problem? I mean, I just can't imagine the public relations nightmare that would happen. I mean, you remember a couple of years ago, I think Sarah reported on it about those border control agents who were on the horses and they were grabbing those illegal immigrants, and everyone was saying, "Oh, look at these people! They're whipping them to death." So I can only imagine if CNN had this footage of legal immigration of a citizen shooting an immigrant, arresting one. I just can imagine the.
I'm not sure we have to worry about CNN or Fox anymore, Andrew. So. We have to worry about some other
Shots
things.
fired.
Well, that's true. Well, I think it's time that we all say, brace yourselves. And to quote the great Andrew Moran, the border crisis the U.S. is facing is an issue of economics. It always has been. Thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panels today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, surf on over to libertynation.com. I'm Lisa K. Donner, Editor-in-Chief. Thanks for joining us today. This has been a production of libertynation.com, where truth is making a comeback.